All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most powerful political slogans in modern India. Now, you've probably heard it a million times, but what's really interesting is that it sits on top of this huge, fascinating contradiction.
Now, before we get started, I want to be super clear. This isn't about defending one party or attacking another. Nope. What we're trying to do here is dig into a really important question at the heart of India's story. Think about it. Was the country really built from scratch after 2014? Or was there already something there, a foundation strong enough to lift someone all the way from the ground floor to the very top? So let's break it down.
So at the center of this whole thing is a slogan. It's simple, it's powerful, and honestly, it's pretty much defined a whole political era.
I mean, you've heard this everywhere, right? In speeches, all over the news, in every single debate. And you got to admit, as a piece of political messaging, it's kind of brilliant. It's so simple, it's catchy, and because they've repeated it over and over, it's become this dominant story.
But that, of course, brings us to the big question. Is this statement actually historically accurate, or is it just a really clever, carefully crafted story meant to change how we think about the past? Let's take a look at the evidence.
Okay, to figure that out, we need to do something. Let's park the politics just for a second and ask a really basic question. What was India actually like before 2014? What was already built? What were the building blocks?
And when you look at it, it's pretty incredible, because none of this stuff just appeared out of thin air. I mean, think about it. A functioning democracy where power changes hands peacefully, that alone is a massive achievement. But then you add in things like the national railway system, top-tier universities like the IITs that have produced leaders all over the world, and even a space program, ISRO, that managed to get to Mars on its very first try. These are not small things, right? They were built up, piece by piece, layer by layer, over decades.
Okay, so how does all that connect to the slogan? Well, it connects through a very central and very personal story. The rise of Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself is actually the perfect way to look at this whole debate.
And let's be honest, his story is incredibly powerful for a reason. It's a symbol of hope, of moving up in the world, of the promise of democracy, right? The idea that anyone, no matter where they come from, can make it to the highest office in the country. That's a story that connects with millions of people on a really deep level.
But here's the twist. The only reason that journey was even possible is because a system was already there. A system where elections actually mean something, where your vote gets counted, and where there's a real path to power for everybody, not just for a select few.
And that right there brings us to the core of this whole thing, this massive political contradiction between that super popular slogan and the reality everyone is celebrating.
So you can see the paradox laid out right here. On one side, you have the claim that India was basically a blank slate before 2014. And on the other side, well, you have the proof. The Prime Minister's own success story, a story that happened because of the democratic system that was built and maintained over all those years.
Really, it all comes down to a simple idea. You can't just kick away the ladder you used to climb to the top, especially while you're standing on that top rung. I mean, the fact that you're up there is the best proof that the ladder was real and that it worked.
So what's the takeaway here? Look, the goal is not to say one side was perfect and the other is terrible. That's not how history works. The reality is, as always, way more complicated than that.
And it's so important to be clear about this. This doesn't mean past governments were perfect. No way. Far from it. History is full of some serious failures, a lot of corruption, and tons of missed opportunities. We absolutely should be critical of the past. In fact, it's necessary.
But here's the key. There's a huge difference between a thoughtful critique and just dismissing everything. Pointing out failures, that's good historical analysis. But saying nothing was done at all? That's not analysis. That's building a political story.
And that leaves us with one final question. And this one isn't just about politicians, it's about all of us. When we hear these political messages, when we try to figure out what's going on, are we really trying to understand the messy, complicated, layered story of history? Or is it just easier to repeat the slogans we hear? Ultimately, that choice is up to us.